Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We've got all of us, I think. Jack's a black screen right now, but hopefully it might fix. Oh, did you recon? Okay, hang on a minute. I might have to do something out, but here we are.
Oh,
It's
no.
myself, Chrome, Jahzo, JKnaps, special guest as well, and Jack as well. It's mini scuffed, but I'm popping him in right now so you guys can see his lovely face. There we go. Alrighty. How we doing, boys? How we doing, gents? Obviously, two of the pillars of the North American region. I'm sure you'll agree with that, App Jack. Over there right now,
Yeah,
we've got the main event this weekend, and we thought we'd bring in two of the runners in the main event to sort of get their thoughts on new season, a new region, I guess you could say, with Jack infiltrating enemy lines. I guess we'll start with you, JKnaps. What are your thoughts on this EU crossover coming over to try and take your spot?
I think it's like better for the whole region in general, but I mean, I think any competition in NA helps, especially this season. Like a lot of the mid teams are all fighting, and I think previously in NA seasons, like the top teams would never get beat by the mid teams, and I'm happy the competition is just getting even bigger.
So Jack, what do you think? You're sitting there pretty smug, trying to take over another major region. How you feeling? We chatted to Noli before earlier on the chalkcast, but now we've got your thoughts. I feel like you're the pioneer of this whole move.
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't want to take credit. Nolly obviously wants to move a lot as well. We both wants to move. And I've always said that I would play in NA at some point in my career. I didn't quite think it would be so soon. But yeah, we just really wanted to do it. It's like a new thing, and it's exciting, and it's a better opportunity. So might as well.
That's hot, boys. Chrome, Jahzo, here we are. The hosts are here, the regulars. It's pretty exciting to have a couple of guests. Chrome, what are your thoughts? We've got the new 5-man overlay.
I mean, it looks great. I mean, we got JKnaps. You'd never see him on a stream ever. And then we got the legendary Jack.
Historic day today, honestly.
Right? We're gonna get carried today.
Only for the CJ show.
I feel like
let's go. We got exclusivity with JKnaps.
Yeah, Jahzo's got the hookups or something because he was the sort of the pioneer of getting a guest on. We were sort of just running it, and all of a sudden he's like, "Boys, I've got JKnaps. I've got JKnaps." So we're like, "What do you want about?"
You know what Jahzo did? Jahzo just comes into my Discord and he's like, "Yo, who should I get as a guest on the next CJ show?" I was like, "Jahzo, I could do it, man." He's like, "Nah, don't do that." I was like, "Are you sure?"
Oh.
And then
I
don't think he believed I actually would.
I was like, no shot. JKnaps just offered to go on some media, like live content. Like, there's no way. JK's done pre-recorded content as it is. There's no way he's volunteering to go do a live podcast.
There's like a difference between like scripted stuff and just hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, like even interviews though.
Well,
I feel like this is more. I feel like it's more relaxed here, like than an interview, than something that's scripted. It's not as So I get it.
I mean, we tried to get some. I tried to put a doc up for the boys to write some points down. What do we want to cover? And we're so bad at scripting anything that we've got a blank sheet in front of us, which maybe is why you guys want to come on, because we literally just come on and talk absolute trash. But let's chat about, I guess, the NA regional, because this, I guess, is our focus. Obviously, we kind of want to do this like a Thursday night show to get the thoughts going into the main event. I guess we'll quickly start with the quals, though, boys. JKnaps, yours was a pretty smooth qualifier.
It was
cruisy.
We were a little nervy to start, and I think it showed against Optic. I think there's like a lot of times we play against teams we really want to beat, and we just like start forcing plays and playing not how we want to. So I think that it was good to get the qualifier out of the way. Like, we just wanted to qual no matter what. But I think that might be something that can come back to bite us this season, and especially teams that we really want to beat. We just we play to their advantage, and I think even our first round against Luminosity, like, we just have to relax and play like how we do in scrims.
Did you have much of an off-season break? Obviously, you were one of the teams that played the latest for you guys and BDS, the last series of the season.
We had like a 2-week, 3-week break from scrims, but 2 weeks off of Rocket League for me in total.
Mm.
I
Before
always
you
feel
even, like, went back
guilty.
and touched ranked or anything.
Yeah, I just feel like guilty. Even if we have like a month break, it's like you have to start playing, or else you'll show up to scrims super rusty. So
You've
I
had
mean, you
some.
guys did great considering Atomic was getting attacked by a hurricane too, and he had to like move locations, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
and
That's
Chicago just
crazy.
moved too, and we've
Yeah.
had some things, but we still, it shouldn't affect us. Like,
So Reed's
no
posted
excuses.
his
Yeah.
chair today,
Yeah, that's
chilling in
pretty
a
funny.
foldable chair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Love
is
to
that
see
the
it.
context? So he just had to move.
Yeah.
Or he just moved.
yeah, he just moved in with Mist in
Moved in
New
with
Jersey.
Mist.
Yeah.
Is
New
that
Jersey's.
is that concerning for the future of the team? He's
Oh
moved-
no.
Well, I don't think they leave their rooms much, so
Ah,
it's not like they're gonna be beef in mid-series or anything.
that'd be
There could be some internet shenanigans
You
happening.
guys start playing each other, you start screaming across the room.
Yeah.
pull the
Could be like
Ethernet cord
calm
out.
moments, trash talking across the house.
Oh,
Imagine, that'd be nuts.
would-
Surely, imagine if Com actually did that. He moved in with someone and started screaming at them when they're playing.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's
He,
like
he goes
I
out
was
to
just
them
playing
after. He's
all
like, no,
along.
no, yeah, like no hard feelings. All just for fun.
that'd
I
be-
would
way.
never be able to do that, man. It'd drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just team with any like opponent would be kind of
Yeah.
weird. Unless you're like best friends with them, obviously.
Was
Mm.
that like always the thing they were gonna do? Is that like a just should cut? Because he was Reed was always
think
West
Chi-
Coast, wasn't he? He wanted to get away.
He
Well, he
lived
was
in New
west.
York.
Yeah, until we were in New York.
He lived in New York at the house, but he also had his own apartment for season 11, like last season.
Mm-hmm.
But he wanted to move somewhere, and I think he kind of like that was one of his only options, or he was kind of in a panic state, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll go with you, Mist."
But I guess speaking of moves, there's probably none bigger than the man on the bottom left. Jack, how you going in? Are you still in? Looks like you're still in the. Geez, I forget where you are. The
Shopify.
Shopify.
everybody.
That's the Shopify facility over in the big Canada. How you going over there? How's
Yeah.
the move treating you?
Yeah, it's definitely a big move. I mean, it doesn't feel like I've settled in at all, because I'm not actually staying here. I'm only here for like 20 more days. So it's like you can't really fully settle in. Especially being, just a place where you're not used to. It's a bit strange. So, but like JKnaps said, there's no excuses. You just kind of got to get on with it really. Because if you start putting excuses down, then you might as well just forfeit the match before you play because you're just going in with a bad mindset. So it's not too much, not too much to worry about, but it's definitely there. Yeah.
What about your how was your call run? I know you guys didn't. You were bottom 8 in the top 16, but then regained pretty hard in the not the regainers tournament, but in the close qual.
Yeah. So the first qual, when I don't want to say as expected because of course you expect yourselves to win, but we knew that it would be a nervous one. Obviously, moving to a different region is quite a big move. You want to prove everyone. Playing in a brand new team where we didn't really get too much practice, so we knew we were coming in. Just had to play a game. We didn't. We were actually doing really well in scrim, or pretty well in scrims, like the week before, and it just didn't translate to a tournament. And then in the second qual, we weren't happy with the way we played, but we played like better, just well enough to beat the teams that we needed to beat. It wasn't overly difficult, that one. We know that if we played really well, it would have been like very easy, but it was still close. But yeah.
Talk to me about how Saturday was for you guys, like in between the invitational and the close qual.
Yeah, it's obviously when you're waiting to play a tournament, the day before, like today, but it's obviously different when it's like your last chance. It's the last qualifier. You've got the first qualifier, didn't go well. Last qualifier, if it goes bad, you've moved to a different region, not made the first main event. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a bit. It was a bit nerve-wracking on the Saturday, but you just gotta hold it together. I mean, you're here to play the tournament.
Did you
Were you
guys
guys able to find some?
I was gonna say,
Okay.
did you guys? Can you correct me if I'm wrong? But did you pick up Chronic without even? You were on holidays. Was this like no practice? You guys just committed to a team, which is
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Is like you obviously cross region, like you want it to work, as you said. There's a lot of pressure. Walk me through, I guess that sort
So-
of decision and stuff.
People will go like, "That's crazy. That's crazy." I mean, it's definitely, there's definitely less crazy things to do, but at the same time, we watched replays of Chronic. I mean, Nolly didn't really actually know who it was. When me and Nolly went LF1, we were like thinking of players in both Europe and North America to try out with. We came to the quick conclusion that it wasn't possible because my holiday timing was terrible. So we had to just go with someone. We had to pick a player. We looked at replays. Chronic looked great. I suggested him, and we've just got a lot of faith in him. And it's, in my opinion, in scrims at least, it's proven to be very good. He's an amazing player, and he's probably going to show everyone that this season, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, it's it's definitely a tough move to pull off, but you just got to be confident in yourself. And Rocket League's a game that you can make this sort of stuff work. I think you don't like have. I don't know. There's been multiple teams that haven't tried out before and were very good. I know the Evil Geniuses last year. If hopefully I'm not wrong, but I'm 99% sure they didn't try. Again, I could be wrong, but yeah. So yeah, it was a move.
The way you guys picked up Chronic kind of reminded me of like the way we got Drees.
Yeah.
And they're kind of similar too, like their 1v1 background. And I think the way of going about those roster moves, like choosing a mechanical player first and then teaching them like 3v3 Rocket League is just way better than maybe going for an older player and then hoping they get better mechanics. You know what I mean?
We had multiple options to choose from.
Yeah.
We just went with Chronic because I'm sick of being the one that's getting clipped on by a young player coming in with not too much experience. So I wanted to try it myself. And obviously Chronic has more experience than actually people give him credit for, especially people who don't watch NA. But still, he's definitely inexperienced, but he's an amazing player and an even better guy. So I'm very happy with the pickup.
Is that sort of why, I guess, JKnaps, you were talking about that, picking up mechie players? Is that we talk about sort of turbo stock, going down this season? Obviously, didn't quite get on a top team. Do you think that, is this like, I guess, a now proven formula? Chrome, you could probably add to this picking up old LJ, or I want to say old young LJ over here. Like, is that just like the future? Just get the mechie kids in. The experience doesn't matter.
You want to go first, JKnaps?
Yeah, sure. I was gonna say I think 100% because they're like willing to improve and they've already shown with their mechanics that they're trying to keep on top of their game, like playing 2v2 and doing all the right things. But I think especially like if someone like me got dropped, I would have a harder time finding a spot than a mechanical player, even on a team maybe 3 like ranks below us. So I just think it's the new way Rocket League's gonna be in general.
Yeah, I mean, like even like history has shown, like look at Justin, mechanical wizard, got on Energy, gets top 2. Seiko first season wins Worlds. I mean, like picking up Daniel, like we had the option to pick up Beast Mode. We're like, oh, let's take a chance on Daniel. Like you could teach them as long as you mold them the right way, the way you want them in your system. And like Daniel, prime example. Even Drees, like I had no expectations for Drees, and he comes in and just shines with G2. So it's proven success, and it's a good philosophy to have because like if you keep just mixing players, hoping it works, when you have someone that can prove themselves who's more hungry than current pros, like they're gonna want it more, so they're gonna put in more work.
Yeah,
I think it's
especially
viable nowadays because I think team environments are a lot better than they used to be, at least for like developing talent. I know G2 like in history we've kind of been like that, been very like open with our feedback and everything like that, and watching replays. And I think a lot of teams are catching up and making that actually a thing that they can work around is improving as a team rather than just picking up someone that's good. Like you're talking Turbo Stonks or Stocks and Stonks. Like back in the day, you could pick up Turbo. He's like already good, and he can like you can work around him. Whereas these days, people want to put in more effort to make it so that you're like fluid as a team and actually bring someone up rather than just being elevated already by bringing someone in.
It's not like Rocket League is like shooter games where it's super strategical. Like all the old players who have the experience or benefited in like Counter-Strike or whatever, but Rocket League is 80% like mechanics, 20%, maybe even more, like 90% mechanics.
You don't need map knowledge. Like you're not gonna get far. Like
exactly. You can't just put 3 experienced players on a team who are
there's so much awareness. Yeah, there's so much awareness you can have until the ball's flying over your head before you can realize what's happening.
How do we get mech then? JKnaps, talk to me. Oh God, I've jumped off the ship. But how do you keep, I guess, up with the young guys?
I mean, I'm not like I feel like I'm learning still slowly a lot of the mechanics, but I think it's just like the consistency, not like doing what I know I can do efficiently instead of like trying new things constantly and messing up, like in scrims at least or a tournament.
Mhm.
But I just know what I can do. I know like my limits, so. But for actually improving mechanics, you just gotta play 2v2, maybe 1v1. I'm not a ones guy, but 2v2 and free play. That's it.
I don't know. I feel like it is as well. It's a lot of I feel like when we were coming up, right, or I don't want to try and like group me in with JKnaps, but like back in the day when we were like 2017 and stuff,
Yeah.
mech, everyone was learning different mech or different moves, I guess, on the fly.
Yep.
Whereas I feel like now these kids are coming in and they've just got they just go on YouTube and find literally every single thing they want. Whereas like we were, the first ceiling shot was hit while we were like pros. You know what I mean? Like wasn't a thing. So I feel like
Yeah,
it
we're
was
like
so much harder.
we're like 3,000 hours deep into the game, and ceiling shots are coming out. We're like, wait a minute, or flip resets. And season 6, we're becoming prominent. Like, we're
That's
spending
crazy.
so
Yeah.
much time and motivation, and like eventually you lose that motivation when you're competing for so long. And like when the new players come
Yeah.
up, they're watching YouTube and they practice it for hours on end. And
Keep
that's
in
not
mind
something
that
we think about as vets as well.
all
Yeah.
these kids that are like playing and they're not RLCS eligible because of age, they're all trying to like grind the rank ladder. And how do you beat like the best of the best in the rank ladder is you just get better than them. You just get way more mechy, you get fast, you get good, and then that's who's like picking people up, right? Because
Yeah.
the people that want to climb, like the ones that their only grind in Rocket League, not because they can't compete, their only grind is ranked. That means that's what they're trying the best at, which means they have free reign to do whatever they want and just like improve everywhere, especially mechanics.
I
So you
think
said
as well. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say you like unleash them in ranked. They just develop their mechanics because that's like the only way they can destroy the ranked ladder, and it's like a perfect like blueprint for bringing someone into competitive threes.
Yeah. I think that one thing that we kind of haven't like talked about is the point that these young players, when they're not playing RLCS, they're not eligible or they're not, tried to do it yet. They only want to do what's cool, right? And what's cool is just the hardest shot to pull off. And that tends to be, these flip sets, these ceiling shots when you learn. And so they're focusing on trying to, look good a lot of the time. Whereas pros, back when you guys were pros and you didn't, you didn't care to look cool. So when a ceiling shot was invented, yeah, you might try it, but you're like, I'll just do my regular shot. I've done it before. So whereas these 13-year-olds want, oh yeah, the ceiling shot, that's so sick. Like, let's try that. So it's like a mindset thing that younger players seem to be able to just kind of have naturally because different things appeal to them.
I can agree to that because Dan's like always talking about psychoing a shot every
Yeah.
single time you're going out of defense. I'm like, oh my god, it's so risky, but he just like whips it out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
Dan.
I remember.
So
And
I
they
think
get
the
better.
basic
They
stuff.
get better and better slowly at it, and then
Yeah.
they hit it 75% of the time.
I got a question. People talk about hitting psychos, and I always thought when people said that they were trying to hit a psycho, as in the current player on BDS, because he did it first. But then I see, well, because people say that because they're like Americans and they just have bad accent. And they don't know how to pronounce like Seiko, right?
Not gonna lie, Jahzo, I thought that at first, but
Was it
I
not?
remembered. No, it's this guy he won the goal of the year.
Psycho Existence is his name. Yeah, he won
He's
the
an
goal
OG.
of the year.
He used
Yeah.
to be on PlayStation. I used to play with him.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
the
he's
goal
on-
when he
he's
like
he was
on
on
PlayStation.
ATR.
he like
Yeah.
an end to end?
It was 2019, I think, and there was a huge uproar about it not being actually being the best shot. It was a sick shot, but yeah. So now that's why it's called a Psycho. So yeah.
I guess
Makes way more sense.
adding to that as well. I remember Joris, your old teammate Jack. He used to say like when he go into 1v1s, he was never like trying to win.
Yeah.
He was just trying to do like the hardest stuff he possibly could. Like he didn't
Yeah.
care about his rank or anything.
So yeah, I mean, people say they don't. Perhaps he literally didn't care about the rank. I think it's like you still care about the rank, but like he put a lot of focus into practicing these mechanics and not caring as much as a player like me. Like I always say to my viewers, oh yeah, don't care about your rank. Like it's the worst thing to do. But when I was coming up to being pro, I cared very much about my rank because it was it was showing that I was improving. So different players have different ways of doing it, and Yoris's way to do it was literally just to go into 1v1 and do whatever he feels like on the ball is the hardest thing in the moment. And now he's one of the most mechanical pros in the world.
I feel like that's like the difference between like a lot of the older players. As you sort of said, JKnaps, it's more like, why would I do that when I know what I've been doing for X amount of years?
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
like a level of risk. It's like a level of risk taking that the younger players are willing to do more than, not even younger, honestly, but there's certain players that will always kind of do the same things over and over, and then there's some players who are really unpredictable and go for those riskier things that could pay off, and that makes them better probably faster than a lot of players.
What about then, staying on the mechie side of things? Obviously, scrims and ranked is where you see it the most. I'm a big Magic Bear advocate because we scrimmed him a couple of times at our boot camp, and we're talking like triple. The only other time I've been peaked on so hard was when we went to Sweden and we scrimmed Queso before. Obviously, they went to Moist and stuff before they were at the major. And Joyo
they were peaking.
Joyo was like, they were just the scrim team in the EU. Joyo was hitting like a million flip resets. Everything was perfect, like flawless Rocket League. And I saw that from Magic Bear over in NA, and now obviously he's on Optic. But not just him. I want to know like your guys' thoughts because you guys are in the trenches over there. Who are the boys that are popping in scrims, or you're gonna see sort of maybe pop off in regionals this season?
I've not been there long enough. You can go, JKnaps.
I think Daniel's playing like a
Yeah.
lot better than he was on the old roster. Like that team for us is probably our hardest scrim team. And I think AJ's playing a lot better on Optic as well. Those are my two.
Yeah, I could say Daniel. I mean, Daniel, like when I was going into this team, Chronic really rates Daniel as like one of the best, if not the best player. And I was like saying to him, I was like, yeah, he's amazing, but he's not the best player. I still don't think he is. That's just a personal opinion. But I was like, come on, you can't be as good as this guy's saying. And then I played him like in online. Like I played him in LAN twice, and I played him online now, and he's very, very good. I guess he's improved. I think it's a bit more of confidence since LJ's joined.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
Yeah, I think he probably thinks he's a better player than Rettles, I'm sure, which is why they picked him up. And also it's his friend, I think, if I'm not wrong. So it adds a lot. And you can just tell, I mean, this guy is going for a wall redirect every single time. Like
you can tell he's bleeding confidence.
Just sitting there.
He knows LJ's fine.
Yeah. Scrimming SSG is the most annoying thing in the like genuinely. Our scrim today was
we call it right now simulator.
Scrimming SSG has not changed. Like in terms of
different
like,
though.
It's a different type of annoying,
but the same reaction.
It's always been the same. It's like more SSG, another hour of just like sweat.
Back in the day,
we're drenched in sweat, dude.
Back in the day, it used to be low 50s. Now it's like more air dribbles.
Yeah. And Arsenal looks better. I think Arsenal looks better, in my opinion, in the scrims as well. Not played him in tournament yet, but like he looks better. I don't know why my lights have gone off. Motion sensors. Yeah, Arsenal looks better. He looks really confident as well. So yeah.
Ryan, you seem pretty happy with yourself over there.
I mean, yeah, it's more so like I said in the past, like with Arsenal Rettles, they played a very similar role. So a lot of times we wouldn't have consistently good practice because one player would feel out of odds and would not be comfortable. So then that type of mentality would make us inconsistent. So now we have everyone really playing the roles that they want to, and it's just more so about being disciplined now. Like we'll have those moments where we're getting a little too trolly. That's the problems they're having right now. But yeah, I mean, the guys definitely are bleeding confidence, and we're trying to do everything in our power to be the most annoying team to play against.
Do you think that, like, we talked about wanting to pick up the mechie players as the future, but also I've sort of found from my perspective, like when we picked up Fever, getting a kid on or, someone on with mech, it like also helps the older guys like want to do. You're like, all right, shit, like I need to, pick up my game.
Well, you don't want to disappoint them, right? It's like they're like touted as being really good, and you don't want to like let them down and have bad performance. You're like, oh, I got to start grinding too, right?
Is that what you found as well, like JKnaps with Atomic? Or
yeah, 100%. When Atomic joined, it was like almost right away. I was like, man, I got to play twos again. Like this, I can't just.
That's a big thing, dude. Jake stopped playing twos for a long time.
Really? Yeah. Why is that? Not a ranked boy?
I used to like love twos, and I think I just got tired of it. Especially when we do like 3 hours of scrims every day. It's just like.
Do you do 3 a day, like every day? Without fail,
basically, other than if there was say a major and then we came back from a break, we'll probably scrim the first week for 2 hours and then the rest 3.
Like ease
Okay,
back into
fair
it.
enough.
Also, I'm sure they still do a little like you can sub out one of those hours of scrims for replays too, as long as
We
I think they
usually
still do
add
that.
another one.
Oh, you went to adding, so it's 4
do
hours
it-
of Rocket
wait,
League.
Not every
Did
day,
you
but
hour replay a day?
like
no.
not a day. It's like probably a week or
Usually
every
it's
2 weeks.
we do once a week. We have it right now, but if we're playing well, we won't. If we're like unhappy, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, we
what
do it
I
too.
used to do. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Do you
But
guys put a lot of like value in replay analysis then?
100%, yeah. Like, or not even just replays, but like team talks.
Yeah,
Because
that hour of replay sometimes, like at least when I was on the team, it sometimes devolved in just like talking for like an hour about where we want to be, not
We
necessarily
could-
like watching gameplay, but using it as an opportunity to just be open and
yeah,
Yeah.
we
give
could have
feedback.
like 5 good days of scrims in a row, and then one bad day, and we have to like have a team talk, and we'll show up some days, and the gameplay we want to go with is just like completely lost, and we all kind
Yeah.
of we like have to talk about it, or else it won't change.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Is that like, so when you're doing replays, is that purely sort of you guys working on yourselves or the things that you guys are doing, or is it like, okay, this team's doing this and we can't stop them? Like,
When we do replays like that, yes, it's only looking at us, but if like we're at RLCS or a major, then we'll look at individual teams sometimes.
back the boys in. I like that.
Yeah.
I
We never
think-
do like team analysis for regionals though.
So if you're
well, because you
screaming-
kind of learn tendencies anyways over
You
time,
know,
so you can
yeah,
kind of
you're
prepare for
playing.
it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of actual
This
other
season
team
it might
scouting
help.
these days.
Like if we played like a Genji we've never scrimmed, obviously it would help, but most of the teams we scrim every day, so we wouldn't really need to watch VOD on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It usually only works for teams that you've never played. Like we had to do it for Seoul
Yeah.
today because we never
Yeah.
played them and never
Or if
expected to
like
play them.
yeah, or if there's like a 3-day waiting time and you know you're gonna play on that 4th day, and you like that wouldn't hurt to do replays.
Do you
Yep.
think that like it's when you're doing sort of or looking at other teams, it's also maybe like 50% team, but also it's like the individual player tendencies, like knowing, what certain players prefer to go for like a low 50 or like like to tap it close to the wall to themselves or stuff like that. You're just
Mhm.
like getting used to those players as well.
It's mostly the team oriented because
Yep.
at least like
I
the
think it's
really
too
good
fast.
players, yeah, the really good players just do every situation they do something different.
Yeah. It's
all the
too
individuals,
fast-paced.
all the individual scenarios, I feel like the experience that you're looking for, that you're talking about, CJ, you can get from twos, which is why I think so many good players play twos these
Or
days.
there's just like in general, like this player does this a lot of the time. Like you usually don't have to do replay review on it.
I feel like this is a really good segue where we are right now. Because I was thinking about, say, Falcons, all these unexposed, say the minor region teams like a Fury as well. So, last season, Falcons came in, and I think that no one really sort of knew sort of how they were playing or what they were going to do. And I know chatting to sort of Com about it even after London when they lost, that the way they sort of brought in the low 50s, especially in like those sort of situations where a lot of teams would, be trying to play for beats or bang it away. And he's sort of like, all right, well, now we're figuring out Falcons because you're getting more time to scrim them. They're playing in more tournaments. Do you think that like that is an advantage for these minor region teams? And I say that because obviously now Furia is coming over to NA. And do you think that can hurt them because you guys are going to get more exposed to a team like that?
I'm not sure, honestly. I think it might help Furia in the long run because they're constantly playing us, but I guess it could go both ways. Like we could know what they're doing more. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I'm not sure about that.
I think if anything, it's the same thing with Complexity. Like I feel like everyone kind of downloaded them and then they had to change their play style with Shad. And then it's just I feel like it benefits the major team regions because
I agree.
you only play Furia maybe like once every major, right? And
Yeah.
you can know what they want to do whether you watch the replays, but you still got to play against them, and you're not used to them on the field regardless. Like for
Yeah.
us, when we played Falcons, like we know they're gonna low 50, like we talked about it, but for some reason we just were not capitalizing on it at all. Like
It's because
it wasn't
it's not
something
near
that caught
like
us off guard.
it's not routine to you yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Where like when you have Furia who moves regions, it, like after showing them for so much, it becomes part of your routine to be thinking about that when you're playing them. That's what they're going to be doing. Whereas even if you know, like Rocket League is so fast paced that you can't fit in those computational thoughts that quick, unless it's routine to you. which only happens when you play them a lot.
Well, how do you think they're going to go then? Obviously, they're over here. They've had their first qual. They didn't make top 6 or through the top 16, but they got through in the closed qual. How do you think that's more an adjustment period? I know, like, I've been scouring Twitter for a few top 5 predictions, which we will get into later. But do you sort of see Furia as that still top team in the world, or do you think they might struggle given now they're in a bigger region and have to work harder to qualify for the major? Let's start. JKnaps, what do you think?
I think right now their form is pretty low. Like, just scrims in general and the way they looked online. I don't think they're even close to like their world championship form, which I don't know why. Like, it could have been the move to NA, or maybe they just took too long of a break or something. But I think they still have the possibility to make a top 4, but I don't think they will make the finals or win a regional.
Wow.
I'm kind of curious, actually. So, like, Rob and Jake, do you guys think, after scrimming Fury a couple of times, I hope, or at least think that you have so far,
Yeah.
does it like share any resemblance to when Complexity moved over? Like, is it kind of similar how they were really good?
To me, it felt like when Complexity first came over, they were grinding CPR. It's like when they just picked up CR right now, they're grinding in a crazy amount. So like even in Complexity and scrims right now are really good compared to Fury in my eyes. It reminds me of when Complexity came back for Winter Split and Spring Split, where they came back super late and they just weren't like on the same page. Didn't feel like they were grinding as much. That's what Fury feels like to me. Like they don't feel like they're back to their form at all. I mean, I feel like at the beginning they're going to struggle, like what JKnaps said, but I think they can definitely get back to that. And it once again benefits the major teams that are grinding. They're going to get used to Furia playing them every day compared to playing them once a major. So
Yeah, I think with a team like Fury, it's tough because they're so used to being #1 in their region that
Yeah.
all these losses could snowball. But some teams like take losses and improve, and some just snowball downwards. So
Yeah.
we'll see what
I
happens to
mean,
them.
I don't know when you guys scrim them, but they don't look any.
Yeah,
I don't know. They don't look like great.
yeah.
But obviously scrims only mean so much. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I think if they wanted to win, matches, and if they wanted to win lands, if they wanted to do well at lands, I think moving to NA was a bad move.
Oh. Why
if
do
anything,
you
you would think it'd make them hungrier.
Yeah.
But especially like when you're in a minor region, you want to prove to everyone you're the best. So I don't know if it affected their overall mental.
It's
I think
just statistically, it's harder. I mean, you just
yeah,
have to beat more top teams even to just make the LAN. You just have to beat more good teams. And South America, they're improving rapidly, but I don't think it's out of question to say that NA is still far more competitive in terms of teams that you have to beat to get there. I just and moving, moving regions. Like, of course, I'm gonna have bias and say it's really, really hard to do. But from my personal experience, I think it is difficult to do. Especially, I don't know where they're living. Does anyone know?
Miami,
Miami,
Florida,
Right. So
East Coast.
they're in a place where they won't speak. No one will speak the language. So
I speak some English, but I mean, I get
I
your point though.
mean, I don't know.
It's gonna be hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to settle in. I don't think. Yeah.
I want to turn
just
this
where
around
their
on you, Jack.
motivations are lie pretty much. Like if they're motivated and they want it, I mean, at the end of the day, playing top teams, I mean, they could definitely do it. They've done it before. Like I don't feel like that's a good excuse. Like at the end of the day, they came in super late. They came in on a Sunday a week before
Oh
the
yeah. No. Like, I think
qualifiers.
what my point was, right, is that I think they will like completely be. I think they'll be fine. I
Mhm.
think that they'll get back to the level, but it's still more volatile. They still probably will lose more matches. That's just standard. There's just better teams. There's harder teams. There's more teams to beat. Um, I I don't think we'll see the same level of consistency, but I hope they prove me wrong because they seem like they're grinders. So we'll see what they do.
Yep. I also think too, like if we had an open circuit to where there's like dream hacks and all these events, this type of move would benefit teams like that. But I
Yeah.
feel like if anything, these type of moves just are just for more money, salary wise, and better way of
Oh
living.
yeah,
So
But
I can definitely understand both sides.
I mean, they're still with Furia. It's not like they're like switching orgs or anything. They're
Yeah.
like,
yeah, but I think I don't know. I'm guessing. But at
I
the
guess they
same
get prize
time,
money.
those players, I don't see those players as players that chase like money over results. I don't know. I don't think that's of course it's a factor in everyone's mind, but it's a lesser factor for them, I'd say.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sure they were
only
so happy
guessing.
when they won Saudi.
Yeah, they had the games.
But
Oh yeah,
I'm sure they
yeah.
they probably weren't thinking about the money when they were like playing, but after the fact, I'm
Oh,
sure
of
they were very
course.
happy they did that.
Of course. But you know, if it affects some people's decisions more so than others.
Wow.
I kind of want to turn around on you, Jack. I want to know if you had any like major thoughts of like any cultural differences or scrim differences since coming to North America, in the Rocket League terms at
Or
least,
ranked.
or ranked even.
So ranked. So this is why I say on my stream, because obviously I'm getting this question like so much. Like it's just different. It's not. Neither is better. Europe is, and I've always said this, and coming here has kind of just confirmed it. Is that Europe is just more messy. NA is nicer to watch and nicer to play, because it's more mechanical. And of course you have you have your different teams. You always have your anomalies, but I'd say as a whole, Europe is messier and just kind of more like scrappy. Just get there, just like get to the ball. NA gives like slightly more space, but they are better. I think they're better individually. So I would say that. And ranked, it favor like I've been doing really well in ranked here because it favors my playstyle way more here. So it's nicer for me to play personally, but neither's better, I don't think.
That's a good point too, because I kind of agree with your point as well. As like NA is definitely more controlled and he's messy. Because like something you'll notice of NA teams a lot with the bubble and like just overall some of the top teams, like you try to play aggressive in one moment, but you don't get that perfect touch, you're getting counterattacked. And
Yeah.
like Energy was primed for that for years, and a lot of teams follow suit. So like that's the reason why a lot of teams are very like safe and give up a little bit more space, just because especially how mechanical everyone is. And I think definitely on LAN, you're going to see less space because no one's going to be playing as good. But like that's just how the meta is online over here.
Yeah.
Jack, you still holding on to that number one spot in twos from a week ago?
No. I lost. I got it for a game and then lost it to Daniel. I lost the game to Daniel. I think I can't remember who lost to the game after, but instantly lost it. I'm like third right now. I'll get back to rank one.
So in terms of the, we talk about NA ranked, but in terms of the depth of NA, the region, obviously we've only had one qual, but everyone's sort of talking about, we've got great teams that aren't making top 16, or, the top 16 qualifier was crazy. We've got, obviously like Gen G didn't make it out of that first top 16. What are your thoughts? I guess JKnaps, you're a pillar of the society of the North American region. What are your thoughts this season? Yep. Is there more depth? Is it a lot harder now, or is there still like a gap and then like a lot of good teams?
I think the top teams in NA are still like the same. Like the number of top teams is like 3 or 4 that I think will consistently win the regionals. But I think EU has or NA this season is kind of like EU last season, where the mid range is all fighting against each other. But in my opinion, I think EU's top teams are better than NA's right now as this moment. But I think the middle teams are kind of similar in EU and NA now, when EU's was way better last season, the mid teams. But
do you think we as a region have more depth this season? Like, do you think
NA,
we have more
yes.
teams that could compete than NA last season?
Yes, yeah. But not more than EU. Like, I think it's the same.
So we almost caught up, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Is
this like the first season where, a lot of the times the NA talent is sort of consolidated at the top? Like everyone's sort of not gatekeeping, they're sort of poaching all the best players to the top teams. But now there has been a bit of that sort of, they've spread out a little bit. Do you think that that's, or as you said, like there still is that gap, even though, you've got sort of like the optics and these other sort of teams that have formed from all these different combinations?
I think the gap's still there because like FaZe and Space Station made those moves. I think for me at least, like there's a top 3 in NA, and then there's a big gap in between. So
we'll get into
I do think
in a minute
that a lot of the middle teams are, it's like for so long you only had really good chemistry and really good like team, I guess, cooperation at the top in NA for so long. But I feel like we're finally seeing teams actually figure out how to put teams together that actually work and aren't just like throwing names in a hat and hoping they do something good. Like Optic, for example, they like found each other and are working well. And I feel like that's kind of very similar to like I think of teams like Accelerate, Axel. I think of Optic. I think of Gen G. All these middle teams that might not have like found each other, but have finally done it. And it's kind of like catching up to
You sort of
the middle
mentioned
section of Rocket League.
you sort of mentioned JKnaps how these like say Space Station made this move and it was really important for them, and like I guess even FaZe, a lot of these teams have made these even at the top, like that were Worlds teams are looking really good, have made moves. So let's talk about NRG, I guess, the big name that didn't make a move. Do you think that that's going to hurt them? Like it sort of felt like, surely there's going to be something going on. Obviously, they weren't quite as informed. They had that sort of, gradual downtrend. Do you think that like that is like considering like a Space Station made a move of FaZe who are still looking, competing at majors, looking top 4? Do you think an NRG maybe should have made a move or?
I think they should have made a move if like one of the top 3 prospects was available, which I guess would have to be LJ, Mist, and someone else. But I don't even know if NRG would improve with Mist. Like they would have to get a really, really good player like a Beast Mode Daniel, someone that I would say like is worth making a roster move and not just talking it through.
Do you think that that's like we spoke about, getting that mechanical player? Like they just need someone to bring the rest of the team up?
Not even just mechanical, but he has to be like top tier. Like it can't just be someone that maybe they'll run into problems again with. Like it has to be someone that'll instantly get them results. And I don't know if anyone was available for the off season for them. So
yeah,
Energy situation is so precarious. Like
if
I
don't
you
think
were
they should have
NRG,
settled, is what I'm saying.
I'm curious who each of you think like NRG would replace.
Oh,
It's kind of controversial. So if we don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. But I'm kind of curious who you guys think because they're all so even in my head.
I mean, I
Like,
just think they
That's
need.
what I say. Yeah.
They just need. I feel like they'd keep Justin and replace either one of Garrett or
Yeah.
Squishy. Because either way, like it's not because one of those players is bad. It's just like their mental is completely boomed. And the fact of the matter is, if you pick up a new player, the motivation is just going to be new again. You're going to be grinding harder. Like JKnaps brought up when they picked up Atomic. Like it's just how it is. Like you're just going to be reinvigorated to play the game. Like,
I just think sorry, it's gone. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just think that they need a new environment. That's all it is. Like I don't think any of the players is necessarily bad. I think all the players can still be on our top, definitely a top 5 team. But especially Justin, I think Justin hasn't like gone down at all for me personally. But obviously I've not played him, all seasons. But still, like I just think they just need a different environment, and a new player would bring that. And any like either of Squish or Garrett, I think all of them would succeed more on different rosters a little bit.
I agree.
The reason I sort of brought it up is because, like, from personal experience, I've been on rosters that have been together for a while, and I feel like when you're on that team, you sort of just know that, like, okay, like this is sort of like this is the end of the road, not end of the road, but like we might need it. Like everyone's getting a bit stagnant, like it's a bit, everyone's sort of stuck in their ways. This team, like it's time to sort of, freshen it up a bit, and as you said, maybe bring in that sort of young kid. Because I feel like the problem with like a lot of those teams when they've been together for so long is that like you can try to do new stuff or work on new stuff in scrims, but surely like you're always going to go back to what's worked, or in those pressure situations you're always going to fall back on like I guess being stuck in your ways a little bit, going back to what you know. Do you think that's sort of like why these teams need to mix it up, because you need to just have that like refresh, like this we've been doing the same stuff for too long?
You're just sick of each other almost, and that's not like a bad thing to say. It doesn't mean you don't like each other as people. It's like on my last team, it's just like it's just got stale. Like you just don't want to play with each other anymore. Again, it's like you may like them as people, you don't like them as teammates anymore, and that's completely fine. It's a professional industry. You just need someone to bring that like bit of life out of you that we're all humans. Sometimes we just can't do it ourselves. We need someone else to do it for us. So yeah.
It's just for me is like with all the I guess crazy roster changes we had, that one sort of like looked like it was hitting everyone right between the eyeballs, and they're like the only team to not have made that change, which I guess we'll find out how it works. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure on them. They went the top 16, didn't go quite well, but they look good, or they 3-0'd, I think, in the close call. So
I think people are still. I've always said this since people have started, harping on about them. People are still overreacting. I think fans are completely. I mean, it's crazy. The amount of I've seen some in this chat. It's like, it's just insanity, really, that they think it's like the one team that everyone thinks is doing terrible is NRG, when in reality they just got top 8 at Worlds. Yeah, you might not think that they had tough opponents, but the result shows they got top 8.
I think I don't think it's like straight result based though, because you have to compare it to previous performances from them.
Of course,
and
yeah.
And you also understand that it's been going on for a long time. Their downtrend in their performance. It's not something that's like they had a lackluster Worlds.
Two splits. Two splits.
Two splits is a long time. That's over one season of league play from back in the day.
Honestly, Jahzo, because the second split they made 3 regional finals, so really only a major, one split and another major.
I was going to say, is it 2 splits because they had a bad showing at LA, right? Whatever, and they had that's one bad tournament, whereas in the previous tournament or the previous major they got second. And then they had a bad split at the end of the season. I don't see it. I don't see what people are going.
I think it's the comparison. I think it's 100% the comparison. It's not that they're losing.
Going off of.
It's like they were this good, now they're less good. It's not that they're like bad.
Right. Yeah.
They're comparing old results to now results.
Oh yeah.
The only thing is with me is do they have the personalities on their team to change it around or?
No, they don't.
Change the season, turn the season around.
They really don't. I don't think.
I mean,
I was gonna say,
experience too, JKnaps with Rizzo, where you guys had that bad season. You guys came back and destroyed everyone.
I mean, season 8.
I was gonna say, we're a few conversations away from being on the same page again, but it just takes having those conversations.
Yeah.
I know, for me, I'm very opposed to roster moves unless it's you fully lost belief in winning. And I think
we only had 2 major roster moves in our history, right?
Yeah.
Well, at the same time,
only 2 roster moves ever.
Well, we technically had Dries for a bit, which I guess
Rizzo doesn't count because he left. But
at the same time, I feel like your team has always been composed of 3 top players, whereas you guys have always been at the top. You've been at the top for years, so you've been always playing at that level with other top players. Whereas teams that have come up, these players are improving faster than their teammates, so then they have to make a change.
Yeah. I agree with your point. I just mean for NRG compared to
right, yeah.
NRG's situation's a little different, but I do agree with you. Yeah.
Where do you guys, where do you see NRG finishing this season then? Because we're going to get into our top 5s, which I know everyone's excited for, but I feel like unless someone's got a surprise packet, that they might not be featuring in a top 5 list. So where do you see them? And I guess a little early prediction.
They're not in my top 5.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have them.
Oh, that's so
7th,
8th.
7th, 8th for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Just for me, just from watching scrims and then their qualifiers. I mean, technically they went 3-0, right? But they went to 5 OTs of considered weaker teams, right? Not convincing wins. Like what Janice says, I don't feel like they had that talk yet because they're still kind of stuck in a rut by the looks of it.
I would have thought they had the
point
talk.
of view.
Isn't that what off-season's for? Isn't off-season for that development?
Wrong. I'm just saying, it just doesn't seem like anything's developing from their end, from my eyes at least.
Yeah, you can kind of tell in scrims when a team's on the same page. Just like Furia, right now we know how good Furia can be when they're connecting. Especially our G2, you can tell when we're not calming properly or not on the same page because it's completely different play style.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the thing with NRG, right, is that, we talk about, having that solid top 3 that you'll probably get into in a minute, Janice. But it's like NRG. It's like the name comes along with it. It's sort of like when C9 are in the scene and they were always in that top 3, top 4, top 2. And then all of a sudden they were 7, 8. And then it was, it was just so unexpected. So I feel like they do carry a lot of weight in that NRG name that it's they're going to be, in the top 3. But now, they're just, I don't know. It's interesting because you'd think as well for that org that they would I don't know. I guess they got top 8 at Worlds. That's the whole thing, though. Is like no one's like happy with how they're playing, but they've still, a top 8 team in the world. Like on
That's
the
the thing.
result
Like
of.
we're still rating them around 7th, 8th, or around that in NA, and that's at like their worst form probably of all 3 of their careers. Like
Yeah.
they are still, the potential is still there to be a top 3, 4 team NA. And
for all we know, they could have grinded their minds out this week and then win this weekend.
Or have a conversation tonight, and then tomorrow they're ready.
True.
Like
they could literally be changing stuff right now.
A team
like
2 hours ago or something.
Yeah.
I agree with JKnaps. So like when I was a former coach of Energy, like I dealt with both Justin and Garrett. Garrett seems like the only one to me that can regain mentally.
Yeah.
So like and Squishy, when he was on Cloud9, they kept going downhill, and he doesn't seem like to me the type of person to regain. And same with Justin. Justin's always sad and depressed, and he's actually serious about that. It's not a troll, so
yeah,
it's hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like kind of guessing about people's mentalities because I hate it when people do it about me. Like they go, "Oh, this like he's clearly, X, Y, and Z. Like too focused on this. I'm like, you don't know anything about, you know what I mean? So I don't want to talk about it too much. But out of the players, from an outside perspective, Garrett does seem like the one that would be able to do it the best if anyone had to. And that's not to discredit the other 2. I think it's just a different in personality. I think some people are more relaxed in their approach, and some people prefer to take the control. Garrett does seem like the person to be that guy. So yeah, I have them at like 7th, 8th again. I mean, they're always going to be there, I think.
All right.
Yeah. Plot armor, energy plot armor.
Actual plot armor. I think that even the world thing is crazy how they ended up playing Semper with COVID. But anyway, we've glossed around the top 5 though. I think we want to get into it. JKnaps brought up earlier. He had a top 3 and then a big gap, quote, big gap to the rest. So I'm excited to hear that. But let's not start with him though. I don't want to start with you. I don't want to give you too much away. Where do we want to start here for our top 5? This is our top 5 in NA right now, and I guess it's our prediction.
I want to hear Jahzo.
Me? No, we can't. You got to do guess first, man.
All right.
Right, just before though, I just want to, because obviously, it obviously depend on the format, and right now we have Swiss into single Elim. I want to get your guys' thoughts on the Swiss into single Elim, because I thought as a player I like Swiss, and like it was like a universal thing that players like Swiss, but I've realized recently that a lot of players don't actually like Swiss. So what are your thoughts on the format?
Swiss, they don't like the idea that no matter your seed, you can really get screwed by game differential. And game differential really dictates who you play, because you can't honestly predict. Like we're number 1 seed. I can't predict who we're gonna play second round if we 3-0. We could be playing G2 for all we know if they're the only team that goes 3-2, right? So it's like impossible to be comfortable. That's the big thing. But I think Swiss is just, you have more chances to bounce back. But I think people don't like it for the simple fact that you get screwed sometimes.
Yeah, groups in single is best, I think.
Oh, like if it's 16 teams, you have 4 groups of 4.
Yeah, I mean the best format I think would be I don't know. Yeah, I think it's 20 teams, 4 groups of 5, and then first seed gets a bye in the upper bracket. Second, third seed goes into first round of upper bracket, and then 4th seed I think goes into lowers. 5th seed gets knocked out or something like that. It's something like that. I think that's the best format. And then obviously we don't have 20 teams; we have 16. So 4 groups of 4 in single then would be best. Swiss is good, but I just think that sometimes it allows teams to absolutely scam their way through. Like
I think the way Psyonix seeds does Swiss around seeds and not random like other esports do is the problem. I think if you had proper random matchups every round instead of based on seed or game diff or what have
you could get more like random good team matches though with that, Jahzo. If it's just completely random. Like if both 1-0 teams or like a bunch of 1-0 teams will play each other, then it's kind of random.
So that's like Space Station and G2 could both 3-0 and then still play
even though
second round.
Okay, so we discussion last week or like literally Sunday when we were doing the watch party about how if you absolutely bean one of your matchups, it screws the rest of your Swiss. The random matchups every round, it doesn't eliminate that issue, but it at least alleviates it a little bit. So with one bad match, it doesn't destroy your whole Swiss because it's random the next round. It's not like if you have if you have a bad matchup, like let's say you instead of 3-0ing first round, you 3-2, like you could literally be playing a top team that 3-0'd. Whereas if you're random, you could, but you have a equal chance not to.
You see
So
what
that way you're.
I don't know.
So I took D1 second round.
Dr. Swag in chat just said CS used to do elo based Swiss seeding. That sounds pretty good. Like both 1-0 teams depends on your elo who you'll face. Like the
Ooh.
lower
but that-
elo.
Wait, what do you mean
that's
depends on the elo?
Like your
As
original
in-
seed.
Oh, the original seed.
Yeah.
So like,
Either way, it's gonna screw the teams that have lower seeds. That's the problem with that. That's why I
Yeah.
don't think they wanted to do that.
I think there is a lot of problems with a lot of different formats.
Yeah.
You mentioned though that
I just
single elim, Jack. You still
Yeah.
like, is that like like I love single elim as well? Is that what you always, no matter? It's just about getting the best teams into the single elim bracket. Is that sort of what everyone's on the same page with, or does some people
Yeah.
still like a double elim? Like, top
So,
eight?
like, I think I used to prefer, like, last season I was always saying, oh, double elim is best. But I think single elim, because it gives an element for, every important factor when you take into account what makes a good competition. You obviously need, for it to be fair to the teams, which I think it does, to be a top team, you have to perform in the moment in high pressure situations. And it also gives a level of kind of like intensity to the fans. Single elim, you lose once, you're out. It's very simple to follow. It's very easy to follow. Obviously, there's questions of there's questions of which is more important, competitive integrity or keeping it exciting for fans. But you have to have a balance of both. Now, if you had to just choose competitive integrity, do you make every team play each other 1,000 times in a row, and then you find out the most consistent team no matter what? Like, what I mean? Like, you could go on for hours if you do that. So you have to just kind of pick a balance. And I think single elim is just a decent format. As long as there's a group stage before, obviously, if you just do a single elim bracket straight off the bat, imagine.
If you just want to put
Jesus.
these thoughts on hold for like
Worlds.
Oh,
Just
doing
straight
ads.
we just got ads.
7
We just got
ads.
All right,
ads.
now let's get into the
Yeah.
juice. Let's
Just-
get into the juice right now while the ads are on. All right, well, hang on. Well, I guess let's just keep talking about. Some people don't talk about format, so we'll just keep on that. With, I guess, JKnaps, you had the double elim grand finals in LA. Yeah, you had the reset. What are your thoughts on like that? Do you think that just single elim all the way?
As a pro player, I do rather double elim, but for entertainment, 100% single, like no question about it. Like imagine the Moist Furious series where Moist, instead of getting eliminated, goes to the lower bracket in Worlds.
It would have been way less hype as
That's
a viewer.
the match would not have been even close.
It would not have been as crazy as that.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was so like that game 7 in the last 20 seconds was crazy because it was single elim.
And I think as long as it's a top 8 single elim, I don't think players care that much. Like I think they enjoy playing a single elim only if it's top 8, but
single elim is like such a, like, you either feel like, I mean, obviously if you lose if you lose, you're going to feel bad. If you do well, you're going to feel good. But like single elim is just so kind of like one series is so important. Like you just jump from top 8 to top 4. That jump is ridiculous. I think whenever I was playing like regionals last year, and yeah, so it is difficult. But I think single elim's kind of the good end format to a tournament for me.
Especially for LAN tournaments, like single elim is perfect.
Yeah.
For top 8.
On that as well, I think that we saw at Worlds the best of 7, best of 5 sort of debacle or debate where, the best of 5, we obviously had all the best of 7s throughout the whole of Worlds, but whoever won the best of 5 had like a 57 win streak or something. So what are your thoughts on, like, do you think that we're just so used to best of 7s because it's so ingrained, but really we don't need it until, I guess, the finals? Or do you still like just having best of 7?
I think the one match that actually needed all 7 matches to determine the winner invalidates going to best of 5 because it was such a big one.
I mean, I don't know about wildcard, but for every match we played, I felt like if it was a best of 5, it would have been a lot worse. Like I felt the matches that we played 2 matches just to make top 8 at Worlds. So if they weren't best of 7s, then
the mentality
Yeah.
changes going from best of 7 to
I'm
best
not
of
gonna
5.
lie, the wild card was really cool because like you played one series a day mostly, and it was one best of 7. Like that was cool. Like if it was a best of 5, it
Yeah.
would suck.
yeah, exactly.
I think best of 7 for Worlds was great, personally.
Yeah.
Like the whole way,
I think
including
Pros,
Yeah, I love
pros always prefer best of 7s. I think
Yeah.
like
100%.
it's the and people can go, oh, terrible mentality, but it's always the same reason, I think, unless I do have a terrible mentality. It's like the fact that you get another chance almost. Like it's a longer series, so it's like the more consistent team wins, So I don't know. Best 7 gives you like another chance. Because you play 2 games and you blink and you play 2 games. Do you know what I mean? Like it goes by so quick. Could be 0-2 down. So I don't know.
Mm.
I like best 7s personally.
So even
I think
though even though the record was that crazy, you still just on
Yeah.
that chance that like you do break that trend.
If all 6 of those matches were best of 5, they wouldn't have gone the same way. The mentality changes.
Yeah.
Your mentality going into the
right.
series is different when you're playing a best of 5.
Oh
Because
yeah.
it's like when you're 2-0 down, you're like, oh, this is it. Like any one of these could be it. Like it's just I know the results speak for themselves, but they really don't. Like a lot of people say that, but they really don't. Just because your mentality is so different when you have the security of an extra game or 2.
Yeah.
I
Like that
that.
stat as well was like a bit of a anomaly. Like I feel like if
What
it
was
was
the stat, sorry?
it was
Well,
a
59 and
59
1.
60 or something
Yeah, Fury's
series.
the
For
one that
teams-
broke it against Moise.
Wait.
If you
So
if you were
first
up
team
3,
that got to 3 games
Oh,
in
yeah.
the
won the
series
series, yeah.
won the series. So if they won
Well-
the best of 5, they would have won the best of 7
Oh,
too.
so that's why you're saying about the mentality, right? I see what you mean,
Yeah.
because it changes. It would change.
Yeah,
like,
if
the
it was
entire
best of
series,
5, then you
right,
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we could probably find crazy stats for like anything if we try to find it. Do you get what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't know. I
I
agree.
agree.
With Jahzo.
There's
I
also
agree that
another
you
crazy
could
stat.
find something like that.
There's another crazy stat where after a timeout, I don't know the exact number, it was like over 60%. If you called a timeout, you won the next game, pretty much.
That's actually a trend that I saw in regionals without even having to look at stats. So whenever I just watch an RCS match or whenever I played an RCS match, whenever I took a timeout, we won the next game. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I guess of course you're talking about
They're
what's
effective.
going wrong,
But
but
That's crazy though,
yeah,
because usually
both teams get the chance. So what actually is it? Is it because
because the teams that didn't get timeout aren't mentally prepared to talk about what's going to change or how to adapt
But
better. They're
now
like, let's
is
just
that-
keep playing
yeah.
how we're playing. That
Now
I
is that-
guarantee you, because that's what we did on G2. If the other team called a timeout, we're basically just saying like, oh, let's keep up what we're doing, and they're not actually changing
Yeah, yeah.
anything. Whereas the other team is like trying something new. And if the other team's like support staff isn't adept enough to like adapt on the fly, then it's just kind of a waste of timeout for you. Because you're just saying like, oh, let's just keep playing the same way.
Yeah, but it felt more of a factor on land though, because when I call timeouts online, sometimes they just did not work. So like on land, when everyone's not playing their best mechanically on top of the nerves or at an all-time high, it felt like my timeouts were actually like worth it. And I could definitely see that with other teams too.
Yeah.
Like the stat was crazy; it was above 60% from at least what I heard from McCaster on the stream.
But now, do you think that's because of the timeout itself, or because naturally you're playing against another team of a similar skill level, especially at a world championship, right? The series is always going to be close. It's always going to be back and forth. And to take a timeout, you most likely, like 98% of the time, would have lost the previous game. So is it because of the timeout itself, or is it because of the past performance of the series?
I just think it's the stakes, honestly, because it felt like
Yeah.
the timeout lasted like 5 minutes when we were up there on the stage. It feels like you're up there forever. I don't know if you get that vibe playing, but that's what I get.
Oh yeah,
Coach.
It's a crazy stat because, usually the team is taking the time out because, you say that they're going to be level, but usually like no games are like 50-50 going in. Like someone's always a favorite. And usually a team that's taking the time out is like the worst team. So the fact that they've actually like won off that is also crazy. Like having a positive win rate off calling a timeout because, you say like both teams get a timeout, but sometimes it is only one team. Like, you might be 2-0 down, you call a timeout, win game 3, and then still lose 4-1. But like, it's crazy the fact that there is still a positive win rate, considering usually, the timeout caller would be the worst team in that series or the weaker team. I don't know. It is a good stat. But
dropped to about 55% in regionals. It was 60 to 65% at LANs. Well, yeah, but I think that's what Chrome was talking about at LANs. Obviously, it's harder to be in the correct mindset, I think. As in, like, you have more factors affecting it. It's a bigger stakes, whereas online, you're in the comforts of your home, stuff like that. So, it means more to take a time out.
That's why it made me appreciate wildcard more too, because it also like back then coaching for like league play, you play one team a week, whereas in wildcard, you play one team a day, so you have more time to prep for the next team you're going to play the following day. So I thought that was also cool. Just like little small things about wildcard I really did like.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was nice. Yeah, I think even the fact that it's a positive win rate online, like Derek said, 55% in regionals. I think that's still crazy that, you know, the team that does call a timeout has a positive win rate, because they would have just lost. So they, you know, they could maybe be the worst team, or they could be more often than not. So anyway, we don't want to keep these two forever, because originally we're going to have, as I said, the half, you know, a little bit each. But, you know, we're going to do the bulk them together, shorter show. JKnaps is nodding at me, so we're going to get into the top 5 from the NA boys. We don't want to keep them around the whole day, and I know that everyone's excited for this. So I think Jahzo was cool to go first, weren't you, Jahzo, for the top 5 right now in NA, which is basically your top 5 prediction for the weekend, because we don't know how Swiss is going to go. So basically right now we're predicting at least, you know, top 5 NA right now. Who's going to win the regional on Sunday?
Which order do you want it? Are we going like down or up?
I think you could go whatever way you
1
want.
1 to 5 or 5 to 1. I mean,
1 to 5, because
1 to 5.
So you don't forget someone.
I mean, it's not like EU where it's kind of.
I mean, that's tough still, because like you can't predict like 3rd and 4th place because of
Yeah, but you can still say who you think is better.
Yeah, it's
okay, that's fair.
Third has a higher chance to make the finals than 4th.
Yeah. I guess it all depends on the Swiss, man. Crazy things can happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm predicting Axel at this rate with Swiss. Who knows?
Did I include G2 or not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, be confident.
Go on, Jahzo.
Okay, because like I'm in this very similar boat to Jake. Like, there's a top 3.
Oh, that's why I asked Jahzo. I want to see if ours is the same.
There's a top 3, and then 4th and 5th. There's like 4 teams that could, right? So I'll go 1 to 5 to make it easy on myself. 1 was very much in between SSG and G2. G2 is really, really good. Obviously, they got 2nd place, best team in NA coming out of Worlds, right? But then you have SSG, who looked really, really good in qualifiers. I still give the edge to G2, so I have G2 first. And I tried to pull as much bias as possible out. I tried to. It slipped in a little bit. Because those are my boys. But I have G2 at first and SSG very, very close second. If I were to guess, they would probably trade on regional wins this split. So I have SSG a second. And then I think a very definitive top, like 3rd place is V1, because they're still very good and they didn't make any changes. They're still have beast mode, so I can't put them any less than 3. And then here's where it gets very, very hard to place people at 4 and 5. Especially because I thought that like teams like Furia might be competing more than how much I saw them play well on Friday. They kind of turned up Sunday, but I think I have to put Optic 4 just because of how well they played on Friday. And then 5th, it's either FaZe or Gen G. Leaning towards FaZe just because FaZe are that good, but I can't put FaZe any higher than Optic just because I know that their mental could just boom at some point.
No complexity.
Complexity was also, that's why 4 and 5 is so tough, because you have Optic, you have FaZe, Complexity, Gen G, Furia, you have all these teams. Even Luminosity or Axel could like pop off one weekend, because Lion Blaze was absolutely peaking on Sunday.
Yeah, Lion Blaze playing well.
Lion Blaze was absolutely like really good.
Don't tell me that. We played them first round.
I mean, I would be worried. It's Lion Blaze. What were you saying, Jack? Sorry.
We played them we played them actually in the first squad where we were playing horrible, and we 3-0'd them, but Lion Blaze still looked good. Like, I don't know, the team. I don't know. I think Lion Blaze is a good player.
Play around him a lot too, so that's why he looks really good.
Yeah, true.
All right.
So G2 first, SSG second, very close between those two. V1 solid 3rd, Optic solid 4th, and FaZe 5th, with Complexity very close, with a few potential replacements there from either like Gen G or Luminosity or Furia, someone that could boom and just peak.
All right. Let me take the reins second, because we'll leave the 2 boys last, because they've got the hot takes. This is tough. I think that it's probably harder at the bottom, to be honest, because I think, in my opinion, there's 7 teams that could be in the top 5. I think there's, maybe the top Top 3. Look, I'm
They're
going to go
so
for it. Number 1, look, I think I agree. I'm sort of on the same page as Jahzo. Like, Chrome, you boys are looking so good, but it's still like, I feel like it's your first regional with a new roster. So what happens when it's like finals time? Like, yeah, I feel like I'd still rather a G2, but you went well in.
It's tough, right?
So funny.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Space Station just because I'm gonna because Jahzo went G2, so I'm gonna split up our 2 picks. G2 second. I think either of those could go. Third place. Yeah, I like it.
Mhm.
Look, this is a toss up for me between V1. I like FaZe as well. I'm gonna go V1 third. Fourth, and oh god, I feel like fourth, and I have to go FaZe, but I like Optic. But then, let's go fourth place Optic for the Magic Pair diff. Even though I was just about to put FaZe third. No, we'll go FaZe fourth, Optic fifth, and then like the reason I'm struggling is because I'm leaving out Gen G and Furia purely because I think you need a bit more time here, Jack. I think you just got here, still settling in.
How rude of you.
Still working out the play style. You're picking up guys that you haven't even scrimmed with yet. So I'll back you in, but I think you might need this weekend to dust off the cobwebs as a team. Well, not dust off the cobwebs, just work out sort of how you want to play, which I think that Noli sort of alluded to, still figuring your stuff out, and maybe that first regional nerves as well, which I think you guys might have had in the top 16. Not putting words in your mouth, I think Noli sort of said there was a bit of bit of solid top 16 nerves.
We
so maybe
predicted that. Yeah.
So I think you guys will only improve, which is why you're there. But I think that for me, that's a clear. I think that's a clear 7 for me. I don't, looking at now, like Lex City is still there, but I got to back the Furia boys in based on what they've done internationally. I know they haven't shown it yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing them. But yeah, so I've got Space Station, G2, B1, FaZe, Optic. That's my 5. Chrome, hit us up.
My number 1, I think, is G2, just because I'm really big on structure. I've always been that way. And on top of that, they had the most experience. They, at the end of the day, finished top 2 at Worlds, got back right to the grind, still playing really well. I think having us a second, I'm going to go with that. I think there is definitely the unknown of LJ because he hasn't played in finals yet, I don't think, in RLCS. Could be wrong. So still got things to figure out when we get in that situation. My third, I'm gonna go FaZe because First Killer just finds a way to destroy everyone on the pitch somehow. That team is not very very structured at all in comparison to other teams, but they're just so good mechanically. My fourth, I would probably put V1. I think they're still good, regardless of who's on their team. They know how to go over teams and really find out how to beat teams. Fifth is tough, I think. I would like to go like Fury or Gen G, but I feel like those teams need more time. I feel like they would have benefited with an extra week of practice for this regional. I think I like Complexity right now, personally. I think Complexity is really good.
CRR's a monster. Who'd you say is third? Remind me.
AJG, Razebull.
No.
Who did you say is third? You said?
Who did you say is third?
I think I said FaZe is third, and then V1 at fourth, and then Complexity at fifth.
So no Optic.
I think Optic is they got the roles they wanted for their team, but I feel like the type of players on that team are very inconsistent in my eyes. Meaning with the game 5 almost every series. It's so hard to bet on a team that's going to game 5 against every team. You got to show me more in my eyes. They're good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams that can fit that spot.
Who do you want to go to down here then? Let's go down to Jack.
Keep going counterclockwise.
All right, yeah, let's go down to Jack because I feel like we haven't been trashing his team, but we haven't put him in a top 5 yet. So I think
his team's good. I just think they're just lack of practice. The same with Fury.
It's very disrespectful of you guys. No, I'm joking. We're going off right now. If you're telling me in 3 months' time, then the list changes. Obviously I back my own team, but I'm not unrealistic. There's teams that have done better in the 2 days of tournaments that we've had so far. No, I'm joking. Anyway, so we've got G2 first. I think you can't not put these guys as first. And I don't think that needs much explanation. I've got Space Station at second, and it's very close with V1 at third. I think, V1 is still the same team as last season. I think you got to give that credit. FaZe at fourth. I think is that everyone's top 4 so far?
No.
I think
See,
so.
No spoilers.
So far,
I
Wait, what did you
dropped
say,
FaZe
CJ?
out of top 4. I dropped
I
FaZe out of
think
top 4.
I said FaZe fourth.
I had Optic
Okay.
at 4 instead of
And
FaZe.
who'd
The
you have
fifth-
third, V1?
Yeah, V1.
I
My
have-
third was V1.
yeah. And at fifth, I'm gonna go with you gotta go with Optic. I think I'm gonna go with Optic.
Fair.
Yeah.
I think Complexity is a good shot for that too.
Yeah.
Optic's really good. It's hard.
I've not scrimmed Complexity actually. I said every team I've scrimmed apart from G2 and but yeah, Complexity we're going to scrim today. I haven't scrimmed them, so I've not actually seen what they're like. But we got 3-0 by them in our first match.
Really
They looked good. Yeah.
I'm just curious if hopefully the CRR situation that he tweeted out doesn't affect him too badly that
Yeah.
ruin your chances.
I
That
didn't
would
I didn't
suck.
want to talk
Timing.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. Like if we're going to talk about it, that if it is something that has affected them, that is a factor.
Mhm.
But who knows? There's no
Yeah.
there's no telling.
On then.
My go.
Yeah.
I have us first. I have Space Station second, actually. And I would have FaZe probably second, but I feel like they're not playing well. I don't know. Space Station's playing really well in scrims, and FaZe is kind of the opposite. I think they might have, when they first picked Mist up, they were playing really good in scrims, and they kind of slowed down, but it's very hard to just judge teams off scrims.
Yep.
And my 4 and 5th, these ones are like the toughest ones. For my top 3, like those are my guaranteed top 3 NA for what I think.
You had phase 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
For my 4th, I actually put Complexity. I think it might be because we've scrimmed them more than other teams, but I feel like I don't know if you guys have scrimmed them much, Rob, but they seem to have like a good structure to them already, even. And my 5th was between 3 teams, which was V1, Optic, and Furia. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go with V1. But Optic is like close. Optic plays us well, and we're working on that right now. But I think V1, if they were to play Optic, I think they would have their numbers. So I had V1 as my 5th.
I do have to obviously ask real quick. Like obviously, a lot of people have V1 like their top 4, perhaps even top 3. What do you guys not struggle against them in scrims? I don't know if you.
We used to
tournaments.
We used to a lot, but I don't know. Maybe it's because we played them so much. But
Yeah.
just for the teams we've been scrimming, like in this off season, V1 hasn't given us big problems like they used to.
I mean,
yeah.
for us it's different too because ever since we picked up LJ, we've actually been winning scrims compared to we used to lose all our scrims when we had our old roster.
I remember scrimming you guys. That was you guys. What was that? Was it like a mentality thing, or did you just not?
Yeah, no, it goes back to like roles. Like players weren't comfortable, so we were always like mentally boomed when it comes to practice. And we'd have one day where we're like, "Oh, we're feeling." The next day, it's just like back to the trenches again. So we always hit that wall. Like we knew like we could win lands, we knew we could perform, but we never got that consistently good practice.
You gotta have fun, and you guys look like you're having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So just going back, JKnaps. So this is a top 3 and a gap. I thought V1 was going to be in here, and you've got the FaZe instead. Yeah. So
how come everyone was hyping up FaZe as like number 1 NA when they picked up Mist, and then people are putting them under? Just like the whole scene in general, even pros.
Probably, really?
I mean, I thought they would be top 3 guaranteed FaZe.
Oh really?
My problem with FaZe was like
not one.
You look at that. You look at the roster.
Not one, but I feel like with that roster move, everyone thought they're going to be better than V1. And
I don't know. I
guys
kind
have FaZe under
my my understanding was that they were going to be. It's what First Killer. It's the team that First Killer now wants. Now I don't know the guy like overly too well, but from what I could judge, is that he'd want a really defensive team play to his strength. You know, like and he's got that. I don't think that they're going to be like offensively as strong as they were with AJ. But again, this is like definitely no slouch in that department, but he's probably far better defensively because he's just one of the best defenders in the world, in my opinion. So yeah.
I just think they play a play style that's just like super risky in NA, in my opinion. That's my big thing with FaZe.
What style
They
do you
have so
think
much
they play?
talent.
Like, in what way?
They want to beat you into submission a lot of times and make you like panic. And I feel like with the top teams in NA, it's not going to work consistently. But I feel like if they were move to EU, I feel like they'd be number one.
Oh.
I mean, I'm being honest. Like their
What,
play
over
style.
BDS?
I mean,
BDS are a machine.
yeah,
Didn't
BDS
FaZe
are
only
good.
beat BDS every time they played them?
Yeah,
Isn't that a thing?
What, FaZe
The old
beat
FaZe, the
BDS?
old FaZe. Twice, I
That was
think?
like Sweden or
with
something,
the-
wasn't it?
With the old
No,
BDS.
two majors in a row.
Oh, I guess. No,
guess.
actually, sorry. With yeah, they had. Did they have Seikoo at? Did they beat them at London or something? I don't know.
I don't
But-
remember,
No,
but
they-
I just
I think
remember.
BDS
LA,
are a
they
machine,
fought
man.
in LA.
I feel like their playstyle matches well against BDS, maybe not against like a Moist. Like I feel like a Moist could beat them. But...
BDS are just a machine in and out of the game. I don't know. I put BDS and G2 in this like in that category as like they're the most kind of like structured teams in not only like the way they play Rocket League, but just their approach to the game and being a pro team in general. So I don't know. I'm always gonna have those two at the top of like my rankings for both the regions until
Fair.
I've been proven otherwise.
I just think BDS do really, really well when Monkey Moon has boost, and I think FaZe does a great job of denying boost, and that's why I feel like they always like trounce the EU teams whenever they played them.
Yeah, Johnny
He's-
comes out of his hidey hole when he when he
He's
hears
BDS. He's got like a BDS tracker on.
Is that me who said that? I thought I said they did beat them. Or was that Chrome or something? I don't know.
No, I'm saying he's saying
Excuse me.
oh, he's talking about would have beat him at Worlds. No, I didn't say that. I don't think they would have beat him at Worlds. I think. BDS
But didn't
is
you
the
say
best
they'd
team.
win EU if FaZe went to EU?
I think they could be fighting for number one in EU. Yeah, right now.
Oh yeah, no, I always
That's
agree
right.
that they could be fighting for number one. I don't know. Maybe I overreacted. I don't think it was like that bad, but I don't know. They're world champs. They are like the most recent world champs. I don't think you could put any team.
I mean,
above
I've been
them
hearing
right now.
Shake Lads have been grinding, so you know that to me.
I'm
tells
hearing
me,
he's the most matchy talented player in the
yeah,
game.
no, that's true. That's fair.
Rookie
That's fair.
season wins worlds.
Yeah, but as soon as-
I'm very big on structure and grinding. I've always been that way. As a
Yeah.
coach.
But there are some players that can just do it, and he
Yeah,
did not.
yeah.
Like if you look back at we're going on a tangent here, but if you look back at their reactions to Worlds, Extra's on the floor crying. Obviously, it meant probably the most to him, I'd say. Monkey was crying. Seikoo did not care. I promise you. Obviously, he was happy. Like he was very happy he won Worlds, and perhaps that's just his like personality to not show too much emotion. But even in an interview with their coach Mew, he called him. I think he used the word like NPC. I don't think he quite meant that, but I think he meant like he's like a robot, as in like he just came to win and that's what he expects and he does it. And he's only seen success on all of every single like roster he's been on, which is only 2. You know,
I think it's just his honeymoon season. Justin was like that at first too, and then Justin started caring.
This guy's different, Gravy. I'm telling you, he's different.
Yeah.
But I don't know that you knew
They're very
Justin when he
similar
was-
trajectories.
Yeah.
No, yeah, true. Yeah.
Justin literally like had the biggest ego, but it wasn't an ego. It was just he just played to win, and he just did that. It's literally it's very similar.
That's
Also, I want to say, like you said, we're on a tangent. That's literally like our tagline.
Yeah, we are
So we
tangents.
always go on tangents.
But look, JKnaps, he flogged us in the top 5 voting. He got 40% or something. So I think that's just the JKnaps factor.
really?
But look,
Yeah, I think
we don't want to keep it too long, guys. I know we could go on all night, but we've taken enough of these 2 times. But I want to leave us with something. I want to just go around the table. Just to finish off, I want a hot take. So we've given our top 5, right? But I want a Smokey. This is top 5 right now. I want a Smokey or a Dark Horse NA team for Worlds that's not in your top 5 that you think's gonna come through and eventually. Well, I guess now we're looking at like the Furious, Gen G, stuff like that. But give me maybe a Smokey that we'll be talking about later on the season that no one's really looking at now. Not in your top 5, Jahzo. Give me one. Who's gonna be at Worlds?
it's between Dig and Axel. I think either one of those teams could just show up at World.
Well,
Like they
all
could
right,
just
how
make
many
it.
spots do we think is making land for NA? Do we think
That's
there's gonna be more than
true.
6?
Let's just say 6. Let's just give you one extra team
6?
that's
Okay.
going to be there.
Okay.
So our top 5 that are predictors for the first major, and then one other team that we think will make Worlds in the long run. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying we've given our top 5 right now, but I want someone outside your top 5 that's going to, like, obviously they're not top 5 right now, but by the end of the season, you know, well, then maybe they're 6 because Worlds. Let's just say they're top 5, though. Let's just say a team that's going to be at Worlds that you haven't put in your top 5, or, you know, you could go really rough. You don't just have to go like a Fury Gen G. You could go like a
No,
Spotify
like my
or
dark
Shopify.
horse. My dark horse is it's either Day or Axel. It's either gonna be like the Drees Andy Delta combo, or it's gonna be my man Gimmick just peeking because he wants to win. It's gonna be one of those two. If there's a dark horse coming in, and it's hard to say who I think or want more, but it's like I think Axel has the best potential. Team Axel.
Clarify, is it for this event or for Worlds?
Worlds.
Worlds. Long term.
Yeah, I would never pick those teams then.
Dark horse, bro. Dark horse. It's not most likely. It's like dark horse. Who do you think could?
Dark horse is like, you know, damn well they might make it, and you know,
No,
like for me, a dark horse, like for me, like right now would be Gen G or Furia. I think Gen G still needs to figure out their play style, and they need to grind more. And I think Furia hasn't been grinding, so they need to get back to that form.
Okay, so
and on top of it,
if I had a
proven that they can
16,
win.
then, okay, if I'm saying my answer going by your standards, would be complexity.
Let's go to them. Let's go.
Complexity's already my top
Let's go
five.
the dark horse.
That's what I'm saying. They're not in my top 5. So that's complexity would be my answer if I was following your.
Let's go the dark horse, like the consistent, like, you know, which is probably like a Gen G Furia, and then just do one that's like could fluke a major, like a.
Okay, so both.
So just do 2, and we'll just quickly go around, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Okay.
Go on,
Complexity is my best shout for 6th. Like
Mm-hmm.
being consistently, like they have the best chance of joining the other top 5 at Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But my dark horse could like mess things up and just come out of nowhere. It's Team Axel, my boy Gimmick.
It could just fluke a major. All right, I'll go Furia for 6. I just think they're gonna hit their straps. I don't think they were really terrible on the weekend, but I think they can only ways up for them. The fluky team, who can fluke a major in a split? I'm gonna go. I really want to go Turbo, but I just think he just can't get there. So let's go with. Oh, looking at it now. I guess I'll go Complexity because I haven't said them. I think that they can not fluke a major, but I think
is that any split?
Yeah, any split. I think they'll be.
I thought you meant this split. And you said Turbo. I swear they didn't. I was like, how are they going to do that? Not they're going to win the next.
Any split throughout the season.
All right,
go on then. Chrome.
I'm gonna go with Furia. That's a safe pick. I think they could bounce back. They're not in form right now, but we've seen what they can do at lands and what they can do online too. So I'm gonna go with them, and then to fluke a major. Ooh, that's tough.
Someone say NRG.
Nah, I honestly don't think NRG's making it. I think they need a roster change. Man. You're gonna hurt someone's feelings here. I'm gonna go Optic.
Okay. Jack, hit us up.
Wait, so what was this? Like,
it's your 6th team for Worlds, and then who can fluke a major throughout the year?
Well, I obviously have to say I didn't put us in the top 5, so I have to back ourselves here. And then fluke. I mean, Shopify looked great, so I'm going with Shopify.
Massive.
For my dark horse, oh wait, did Jack put his? Or
yeah. Finish us off.
Okay. I'm gonna say Optic for my 6th team for Worlds because I didn't have them in my top 5, and for the fluke major, I'd say Rogue.
Ooh.
I think Rogue have like pretty good pieces to their team. I don't know if they have structure at all, but I think they could be like a good team. Tarako Aqua, Gyro. It's not a bad combo.
Massive. I like that.
You guys are too nice.
What do you mean?
What?
What do you mean?
It's more so I need to see it actually happen once. Like Memory, I love Memory to death, but he has, when it came down to it, man, he's never made it to the top 4 to make Worlds or LAN or anything. And I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love those guys. I think they're great. And then Rogue, I mean, come on, they're good, but can they consistently do that to make a major or?
No,
Worlds?
but
that's why it's supposed to be a fluke. It's not. That's why we have 2 answers. We have the consistent one, who we think like actually has a
to make an
decent
event.
shot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I just It
But
doesn't
I
seem
say, so
reasonable. As, you know what I mean?
Memory's never done it, but if we have the same
Okay,
as in top 5 make the major, I swear they must have gotten top 5 in, I think, spring split of RLCS, surely. I mean, they came second in a
Yeah.
regional, or was that winter? I don't know if that was winter or spring.
No, that was
But, like,
fall. That was fall. Yeah.
oh, was it full? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of the 3. I mean, they surely got top 5. I mean, they were looking good in scrims, and they went 3-0. I
Fair.
think, you know,
That's fair.
All right,
3-0
then.
whilst not getting a chance to prove themselves in the first qual.
I like we've got a good mix though. It is a fluke, but as you said, I know what Chrome's saying. To be a fluke, you still have to do well nearly 3 times in a row, 3 regionals to fluke a major. So,
I don't know. Do you? I think you need one.
Yeah.
win one.
You
You
need
reckon?
one
You think they
because
can win
if
one
you do
though?
it in the first one, if you do it
can
in the
get-
first
Well,
regional,
you have to
get
win the first one.
That's
You
like
can't just-
Rogue having to win a
You
regional.
can do a top 2. You can do a top 2.
Yeah, top 2's still hard though. That's not a fluke at that point. Well,
first for the team, I
I
said
don't
top
know,
2
I've-
would be
not
considered a
this
I've
fluke.
seen
season.
some-
Last season in NA could have been, but with all the good teams, I feel like
A fluke major like qualification to me was complexity over us. So I'm gonna go with that.
I
I love those guys, but that was kind of fluky.
Oh, it still hurts him. It still hurts.
like that to me, like, you know what I mean? Like they're good enough, but it's kind of a fluke, you know. I'm trolling
Yeah,
guys. It's just a joke, guys.
He's not joking.
Hey, it's
no,
okay.
he's
It's
not.
been long enough. It's been long enough.
You
Nah,
can tell that came from deep down.
We didn't deserve to make. We didn't deserve to make a major. I will say
Hey,
that.
you guys had the opportunity. You guys had a best of 5. It went
Best
down
of
to the
7,
final
not
game.
best of 5. No,
A best of
we
7.
didn't
They
deserve
went.
to make it.
It's okay, bro.
Keep it. I'm just trying to please
He
Rise.
pulled that
wants
up from like
drama.
the deepest, darkest like memory pocket that he did.
Dude, you know he's been holding on to that loss
Yeah.
ever since it happened. You know he has been.
He let it
That
out
one
like a
cut deep, I
sneeze.
will say.
That
That
must
one
have
cut
been.
deep.
That might be the most like hurtful loss I think out in Rocket League like
was.
esports. Yeah, because like I mean that was crazy. I don't even know. I remember watching that.
Because I don't think there has been
Yeah.
tiebreakers, right, for Land Spot this year
Mm.
or last year,
No,
other than
I
that
think
one.
you were the only
Other
one.
than that one, yeah.
maybe another region, but
No, I don't think another region. I think that's the only one that ever had
Oh,
a
really?
tiebreaker for major.
yeah,
Yeah, I was the only one
I
according to
think
John.
always.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. Look, it's a
That was
great way to
painful,
leave
man.
it. You know, Space Station choking a major spot, but you know, we'll have to see what happens this weekend.
Hopefully not again. Hopefully not
Jack,
again.
leave us with something for the fans, for the Gen G fans. What are they going to look forward to this weekend, and what can they look forward to throughout the season?
Dubs.
Tops.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's confident. JKnaps, same for you.
What do
do
you want me to say? Losses?
Maybe
Like-
more
No, I
dubs
don't know.
than
You can just say like, you
Gen
know, just back us in. We'll get over, you know, maybe not this event, but next event we'll win. You know, something like
No,
that.
hang on a minute. Hang on. You can't say maybe not this event.
You could have said some super ego, like you could say like Gen G stocks, they're rising, boys, invest early. You could have said something like that.
Yeah, but then I get it's not
Yeah,
financial
it's
advice.
clippable,
Don't
though,
take
isn't
that.
it?
Don't say that.
Okay, but are they public? Okay. Maybe I should take a step back. Are they publicly traded
I
or
have no
no?
idea.
All right. We like that though.
Okay, never
Dubs.
mind.
JKnaps, what do you got for us for the G2 Army? How are they going to go? How you going this weekend? What do you think?
Dubs, but
Dub.
more than Gen G.
Let's go. That's my boy.
I love that. Righto, guys. That's it from us. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy getting a couple of special guests on. We want to do this again for like before, you know, we want to do a Thursday night before the main event. So we want to do an EU show as well. We'll get some EU boys on for the EU main event. But thanks very much to obviously Jack and JKnaps coming on, taking time out of their busy schedules the day before they're going to crack in and hopefully we'll see these guys top 2. Hopefully it's a bit of luck. Well, you know, maybe not for Chrome, but anyway, thanks for hanging out and yeah, we'll see you guys later and
Thanks
peace.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
All right.